You know, America just reached record highs in new coronavirus cases. And as we get closer to the Republican and Democratic conventions, there are different visions of what they're going to look like. Joe Biden says he's going to make his convention a virtual and multimedia affair spanning several days and telling delegates they should stay home. But Republicans are still going full steam ahead with a live event in Florida, even though that state just hit their all-time high of new cases this week. So I don't know who's going to be more effective about getting their message out, but it seems to me that if Joe Biden, who survived 2 brain aneurysms, and as always said, I have no fear of death, but I'm not looking for it, has decided that it's best for him to do what he's doing to continue along the way, I don't think that's a bad thing. And I'm kind of sad that, you know, a lot of folks have to get sick in order for anyone to recognize what we have been saying for months. You know, you got to wear a mask. You got to really pay attention to this. I mean, what's your thought on it, Sonny?
You know, I think that with the Republican convention being, live and having people there, thousands and thousands of people there not being required to wear masks, and then you have the Democratic convention being held virtually, I think the contrast will be so stark that it will inure to the benefit of the Democrats. I mean, leadership has to be very adaptable, and we know that you can conduct business virtually. You have the Supreme Court conducting business virtually by phone. You have, certainly to a much lesser degree, I hosted the Puerto Rican Day Parade right here from my home. And I remember having the youngest star of Hamilton, Anthony Martinez, interviewed on his fire escape in Brooklyn. He gave one of the best interviews I think I have ever seen from his fire escape with his mom in the background. So it can be done. You can conduct business and still protect Americans, protect the public health. And I think what Joe Biden is saying is, I care about the American people, and Donald Trump doesn't. That type of stark contrast is going to be very important.
So given the alarming rise in cases, do you think there's any chance that the Republicans may end up following the Democratic lead and, you know, at some point call off their convention, Joy?
And give up Trump's chance for further adoration and love and warmth coming from his base? I don't think so. Remember, even Bolton says that yesterday, nothing matters but his reelection and his ego. That is what counts to him. And, he really can't reverse course right now, in my opinion. He would have to admit he was wrong and that he was negligent. I don't think he will ever be prepared to do that. He's already committed to the lie that this was a hoax and that it's going to go away all by itself, even though we see that's not true. He's incapable of leading except down the path of destruction. So I don't think that they will take that choice at all, because he'd have to completely reverse everything he said, and then he loses his base. But having just said that, my final thing on that is that Biden needs to be on television more. He needs to be talking. He needs to tell us what his plan is going forward, how he's going to fix the mess that Trump has put us in, the Trump and the Republican Congress has put us in. And I think that in that case, maybe he can stay in the basement and just talk to us. But he's going to have to step up, Biden. We can't just afford the possibility that we don't have a landslide in the fall. I'm worried about it.
Okay. Biden's in a double-digit lead in the latest polls, apparently. You know how much I put into polls. I don't really think you can just go with them. But you know who is doing it live is the only way he can do it, Megan? Do you think he is unable, as Joy says?
Yeah, you know, I'm less an identity politics person than I think the rest of the hosts on this show, but I do think this is a great example why there need to be more women in politics, because clearly President Trump is worried about looking weak, worried about not looking virile by not having this in-person convention. And I do agree that he wants the adulation of the crowd, as you said, Joy, but he also wants to look invincible to this virus, which is ridiculous because none of us are invincible to this virus. And I think when we're seeing spiking throughout the country right now, everywhere, imagine what it's going to be like in a few months, especially in Florida, which seems to be really on the rise. So it's strange to me that, like, I think if we had a woman or two women running, like, it would probably both not be in person, because women just don't, we're just tough and strong, and we don't need to have these, like, weird sort of, like, virtue signals of look how strong and tough I am. And I just think it's, like, sort of ridiculous. I also agree with what Joy was saying about Vice President Biden, the narrative that he's, like, stuck in the basement and he's scared to come out. It's not that he's scared, he's being responsible with this virus, but I do think he's verging on not doing enough press, not doing enough media, and the media he's doing is, while it's, I'm sure, great for Democrats to see him having a conversation with President Obama, you know, that's probably going to be a friendly and kind and, you know, normal conversation. I do think one way or another he has got to start hitting President Trump harder. And quite frankly, on some of these issues, like the statues coming down and all of the, you know, social complications that are going on in the country, I would like to hear more from him on some of these meat and potatoes issues that we talk about every single day on this show. And I don't feel like I'm getting enough from his campaign right now. And you're right, Joy, nobody can take anything for granted, but I do think it's incredibly dangerous to be holding a convention in person. I've been to every single convention since my mom was pregnant with me. There's not a chance in hell I would be dragged to this one this year. I'm too scared. And that doesn't make me a weak person. It makes me smart because I'm wary of this virus still.
And also, your eyes are open and you're seeing that the virus doesn't care who you vote for. The virus will eat you. It doesn't care about your politics. It doesn't. It just doesn't.